Hello there, this is Amy Kreydin at the Barefoot Dragonfly, and today I'm going to demonstrate how I like to make khechari in a pressure cooker. This particular one is the Instant Pot. I know there's a number of ones on the market. You can use a regular pressure cooker that you would put on the stovetop, or you can use an electronic one like this. I like to use khechari for intermittent fasting or weight loss. Particularly for fat loss when you're trying to move fat out of the system. Love to use it for acid reflux and indigestion for those of my clients that were working towards healing irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndrome, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth or SIBO, as well as Candida, where you've got a yeast overgrowth happening in the system. For it as a cleanse, I like to use it seasonally. So at the start of a new season, so winter arrives around the first day of spring, around the first day of summer, around the first day of fall. So sort of 4 intermittent periods throughout the year. If you're going to do a fast program like that, you usually eat khechari for 3 meals a day, 3 days in a row. And usually by the 3rd day, you start adding additional ingredients. So I'm going to give you a basic template that you'll have as a PDF download for the article about this. And then if you want to, you can start adding or changing it a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. For the beginning, I want to use butter. And for my recipe here, we're going to use a couple teaspoons of butter. Just get this off. I like to use grass-fed butter. Here in the States, we've got Kerrygold as an option, which is really nice. That's an Irish butter from really happy cows. You can use ghee as well. And if you don't use any kind of dairy products, it's okay. You can find an alternative. So I'm going to use the saute setting here, and we'll get the butter started. We're going to put in the spices first. So I'm going to wait for this butter to start warming. A little beeping indicator. If you've got an Instant Pot at home, you know how that sounds. So the spices that I've chosen, that's going to be on your handout, I'm just going to read it out for us here. I like a lot of spice. If you need to adjust this or tweak this, feel free to. 3 to 5 whole cardamom pods, 1/2 inch to a full inch of fresh minced ginger root. Got about a 1/2 inch here that I've grated. You could use 1 to 2 teaspoons of powdered ginger if you don't have access to fresh ginger, or if your ginger knob, you've discovered that you've been sitting there and the windowsill is pretty sad, dried up looking, switch to powdered, it's fine. A teaspoon of coriander seed. This comes from the same plant that we get cilantro leaf from. So when the cilantro plant ends up flowering, we get these little seeds and we call them coriander, same plant. Cumin seed, you can get a really lovely toasted or roasted or smoked cumin seed that's just very aromatic, very lovely. 1/4 to a teaspoon of turmeric powder. I've got a really nice golden turmeric here. 1 stick of cinnamon or acacia. I've got acacia. Just pop this lid off. So we'll use 1 stick. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. The butter's starting to melt a little. A teaspoon of black, brown, or yellow mustard seeds. Did you know there were that many color choices? The yellow is usually a bit more intense to start with, but the brown gives you this sort of nice, warm, consistent sort of mellow burn. Our butter is starting to simmer here, almost all melted. Fenugreek seeds. This, if you have a hard time finding fenugreek seeds, head over to the Indian store or look online, a place like Penzies or one of the online spice shops that retails spices would have fenugreek. A couple of cloves, 3 bay leaves. I've got some really nice ones from Rancho Gordo Beans here. And we're going to use some salt. So let's get our spices. I've combined all the smaller spices in my little spice jar here. And then we're going to add the ginger. I wish I could share this with smell-o-vision. It smells very lovely. So you'll see a little bit of steam coming off here. I'm going to use a stronger amount of turmeric because I like the flavor of turmeric, so I'm going to use a full teaspoon. If you're not used to the flavor of turmeric, or if you're supplementing with turmeric or curcumin, you could do a 1/4 teaspoon and work your way up. And let's put our 1 teaspoon of salt. Put our bay leaves in just a little bit. So I'm going to stir this. What we want to do is we just want to get the butter and the spices to create a little bit of a paste. So we're just heating up the spices until we get some fragrance going on. And then I'm going to reach around here. I can't read upside down very well. I'm going to put it over into the keep warm for a minute. We're going to add our bay leaves. 1, 2, 3. These bay leaves will end up being very aromatic. For the recipe that I've given you, you have the choice of using white basmati rice or brown rice. The white rice has had the outer hull removed from brown rice. And when you take off that outer hull, you lose a lot of the fiber content that you would get if you had brown rice. For someone with digestive issues, the white rice is actually going to be gentler on their digestive tract. So if you've got IBS or something of that nature where digestion's just not been real happy, then I wouldn't go into the full fiber version of the brown rice for your first round of khechari. You might want to give it a couple of days before you delve in that direction. It may even take months before you can go into brown rice. Totally depends on the individual. So I'm using brown rice because I want the extra fiber for myself. This is 2 cups of brown rice. And I'm using a bean that's very low FODMAP. It's not going to create all that gas and that intestinal distress that we're usually associating with beans. If you wanted to, you could soak these beans beforehand. These are known as the yellow mung dal beans or moong dal beans. And they're really quite lovely. So let's add that. So we've got a cup of that, and we've got 2 cups of the rice. Let's stir this all together. That turmeric's giving it this really nice color. And I'll lift this out so you can see this. Bring this a little closer for you here. You can see this really great color that's happening with this turmeric. We've got these spices in here. Now this is where we're done with the cooking portion. So we're gonna, or at least the hands-on portion. Make sure I got all the rice off of my little spoon here. Okay. I'm adding 6 cups of filtered water. And if you look at your manual, so this is what mine looks like for this particular Instant Pot. And I've got it sort of bookmarked here to the rice and grains section. It's also right across from the dried beans section. Under dried beans, we see yellow split mung dal, and they're listed as lentils. 15 to 18 minutes if they're dry in cooking time. If I go over to brown rice, it's recommending 22 to 28 minutes. So the cook time in the pressure cooker is going to be longer for the brown rice. So let's go to the 28 minutes setting. I'm going to add the lid here. Line that up. Make sure that I've got the vent in the operating section. We don't want it to be venting quite yet. And we're going to go to manual, and we'll get it up to 28 minutes. So it'll kick over here in just a second when it's ready. I want to talk to you briefly about a couple of alternatives. If you're having some issues with something like rice, we could use tapioca starch from cassava root. So you could use tapioca pearls instead of the rice. That's coming from the yucca or the cassava root that we're used to. Usually in areas of the market where there's a broader, more exotic type of vegetables available to you. It's really, I don't have an example to show you, and I'm sorry, I could have brought one. It's a really dense type of somewhat fibrous, looks kind of like a potato, a lot harder than a potato, and the outer peel is a little harder to get off. So that's what makes tapioca pearls. So you could use that instead of the rice if you're having issues with the rice. Folks that might have issues with the rice would be people that are having diverticulitis or little pouches, ulcers, that sort of thing, where the rice could get stuck in. So tapioca pearls would be a nice alternative. You might have to play with ratios. I'm not sure how long tapioca pearls take to cook in the pressure cooker, so it might be better to cook the beans separate from the tapioca pearls and then add them, combine them together at the end. Another possible alternative, because the mung dal beans are such a low FODMAP bean, they tend to be really well accepted for a lot of people. If that's not the case for you as an individual, you could always replace it with quinoa, or you could try millet. Millet's really nice. Millet would be another one that you could replace the rice with. So that's a little seed, and it makes a really lovely, it plumps up really nicely, and it's not quite as stubborn as rice would be. It's not quite as notorious for getting stuck in little nooks and crannies and pouches in the digestive tract. So just a couple options for you there. When you've got this cooked and it's ready, you're good to go, and you've had a bowl of it, it's delicious, you're really enjoying it, but you want some sort of change it up a little bit, you could roll it up in a tortilla. You can make cassava flour tortillas, which are delicious. So if you need a gluten-free option, that gives you a couple of directions to go with that. Other gluten-free tortillas that are out on the market, other recipes are available to you as well. So just some variety for you. Could also roll it up in a wrap, put in some spring greens in there, maybe some baby spinach. Just change it up for you a little bit so you're not just eating this bowl of porridge all the time. Khechari is the dish that's generally given as one of the first introductions to solid foods for babies in India. It's also used for people who are, our senior populations who need things that are easier on the digestive tract. So this gives you a nice way to nourish the body, give a real gentle cleanse to the digestive tract, but it's very safe. It's not going to be something like a juice diet where you're not getting any fiber. You're just sending sugar straight into the system, and you're causing this inflammatory response because you've got all of this sugar, all this carrot juice, apple juice, all of this stuff creating this really uncomfortable belly situation, and you're also dealing with blood sugar imbalances. You're great one minute, you feel like passing out the next. This is going to be my preferred direction. If you want to do a cleanse, I would do Kitchari. So I hope this is helpful for you. Follow the link for the PDF handout for the recipe. And if you've got questions or inputs, you want to tell me about some things you've done with Kitchari, or maybe some spices that you've tried that I haven't listed here, I'd love to hear about them in the comments section. Thanks. Have a great day.